With over 30 years of experience in maintenance and reliability, Michael Stites serves as NASA's agency RCM program manager, ensuring the long-term sustainability of critical infrastructure across multiple NASA centers. His expertise in RCM, PT, and organizational change management has delivered sustained annual cost avoidances of $1.5 to $2 million per center. Based at NASA headquarters in Washington, D.C., Mike continues to advance NASA's mission by strengthening maintenance leadership and deploying best-in-class reliability practices. Dr. Eric Weiser leads NASA's Facilities and Real Estate Division, overseeing the management and modernization of infrastructure across the agency. With a career spanning over 3 decades, he has played a pivotal role in revitalizing NASA's Langley Research Center, implementing large-scale infrastructure strategies, and ensuring the sustainability of critical research facilities. He has been recognized with NASA's Outstanding Leadership Medal and Exceptional Technology Achievement Medal. With over 50 published works and multiple patents, Dr. Weiser's leadership continues to shape the future of NASA's infrastructure. John DeGreen is the Deputy Director of NASA's Facilities and Real Estate Division, bringing 2 decades of experience in infrastructure reliability, condition-based maintenance, and strategic planning. He has led major facility programs at NASA's Glenn Research Center, and his work has influenced NASA-wide initiatives, including the Mission Architecture Program and the Tiered Maintenance Strategy. A recipient of NASA's Exceptional Service Medal and multiple Silver Achievement Medals, John's leadership continues to drive the evolution of NASA's facility management. Gentlemen, welcome to the stand.
Michael, Eric, John, great to have you guys here, have a chance to have a conversation. First off, congratulations on your Uptime Award.
Thank you. Thank you for recognizing us.
Really fantastic. We're really happy to have a chance to learn a little bit more about what's happening at NASA. One of the things that really caught my attention, because I talk about it a lot, but I don't see the audience reacting to it very much, is a tiered maintenance approach. Tell me a little bit about what your ideas are around tiered maintenance.
We adopted tiered maintenance out of necessity, really. When you think about the agency and its 5,300 facilities, and we have tight budgets, we want to fund mission, and so unfortunately, funding mission, sometimes mission support, which is critical to mission success, takes a hit. And so our maintenance program has a very tight budget. It's underfunded based on our analysis. And so what can you do? How do you live within your means? And so out of it was born tiered maintenance. And the genesis of it really is understanding what are your most important facilities, your most important assets, how to understand what maintenance you should do within those facilities, and then you can throttle based on your budget, you can throttle how much maintenance you do based on your tiers. So your most mission critical facilities, your high tiers, the facilities that you're willing to accept some more risk are your lower tiers.
And then how did you get clarity to risk? Because I know that's one of the things you guys really excel at. And what did you do to figure out that risk profile?
So the asset criticality is the key component for that risk acceptance. So we looked at all of the assets as buildings, then we dive into the equipment asset criticality. And once we do that, we're able to understand what's important to make that building tick or that infrastructure really excel to meet the mission needs. So we assigned 1 through 4 to those pieces of equipment, and we can then know what's the most important in the facility versus what's the least important. That way, a high voltage switchgear versus the water fountain. We're able to prioritize our resources and then have that granularity Eric mentioned to assign those resources in a manner. And we could prioritize our risk that way as we do repairs as well. If we have an asset criticality of 1, we know, hey, if this thing goes down, we need to address it.
And then how did you take the emotion out of that conversation, out of that process? Because we find oftentimes that the people closest to the assets are pretty attached to their assets. And if you ask them what the criticality is, they'll say, oh, there's a 1, there's a 1. So how did you take the emotion out to actually get to this overall ranking?
So we've asked them over time at the various centers to look at the priority levels or criticality levels of the equipment assets within there and manage to it such that you may find that you're working on priority 3s and 4s when you should be focusing on the priority 1s and 2s. And it doesn't matter even if it's in the tier 4. And that was an empowerment to the technicians because it allowed them to focus on the most critical assets and as opposed to working on other assets that they thought were they could have gone on a backlog and planned and scheduled for a later date as funding became available.
I
So it was
would
more
also
empowerment.
add that it's a big leadership challenge. It's a change management endeavor. It's my responsibility, John's responsibility. We work with leadership in the agency at each center as well as within the NASA headquarters to make them understand the philosophy around tiered maintenance strategy, make them understand that even a lower tier facility is going to get life safety maintenance, going to get critical systems maintenance. But we may run certain things to fail instead of being more predictive and proactive because we don't have the funds to invest in all the predictive as much as we'd like to. We definitely prioritize that. But it really takes a lot of communication, a lot of one-on-one sometimes. To Mike's point, he visits all the centers and meets with all the O&M chiefs. And then we work with the leadership to help them understand because there is this gap, they don't have the level of expertise that a Mike might have. And so we have to work with them to understand how it benefits their center, how it benefits the agency, and supports our mission.
And then one thing to add to that is the culture. Like every center's got a different culture.
Yeah.
And so understanding where they are at in the journey and that culture. My kids ask me every day, what did you do today? And I said, I'm a professional storyteller. And I said, depends who I'm telling the story to is how I got to adjust. If I'm talking to the O&M chief, or if I'm talking to center leadership or agency leadership, or sometimes even Congress, we have to understand our audience and make sure we're hitting the points to drive home tiered maintenance.
I have kind of a thesis for you, especially watching today's Uptime Awards presentations. Very interesting to me that a lot of the winners today were from public, some water companies, quasi-government organizations. And, government can sometimes get an inefficient sort of ranking sort
Absolutely.
of thing. But if you look at the award winners today, water companies, you all, Arnold, Engineering Development Center, do you think there's something about the fact that your assets belong to me as a taxpayer? You're serving the taxpayer. That has a different perspective in managing assets.
I think so. I mean, every dollar counts, and we are beholden to the taxpayer. We work for the taxpayer. We work for the president, and we work to support the mission. And so every dollar has to count, and we have to. That's why especially at NASA, we're data. Everybody wants data. We really have to bring that story, understand the data, and make sure that we're defending how we use our dollars. To John's point, we go and meet with the Office of Management and Budget, and we meet with congressional staffers and appropriators to discuss our strategies so that they understand why they're appropriating us dollars to take care of facilities when they think about Artemis and going back to the moon. Well, you need infrastructure to get back to the moon, not just the rockets. And so we're a critical piece to that and helping to tell that story and making the taxpayer understand the value of what we're doing in our maintenance program through the channels that we deal with, either the local governments when we talk to folks or when we talk to the congressional folks.
Do you think how you practice maintenance, reliability, and asset management, what could you teach the private sector? Is there something you think NASA could bring to the private sector that they're not doing, that you are doing?
So I think it's more in line with validating what the private sector has been doing, right? From an asset management perspective, that it's such a best practice quite a bit, and that we're able to carry it into government operations, right? And keep that same passion going forward, that same need to continue to sharpen our saw to implement the latest technologies, the latest maintenance and reliability practices and theories to improve our maintenance program. So I think it's kind of like a both.
It is definitely a both.
Yeah.
That's why we came to the International Maintenance Conference, right? We were fortunate enough to be able to tell our story and some of our challenges and what we're trying to do to overcome them. But at the same time, our folks are getting out and listening to what the maintenance community is doing, and so we can learn. you never want to stand back and just be comfortable. I preach to the team, we gotta push technology, we gotta push forward, we always gotta do better. And I think we can always learn from what others are doing, and hopefully we'll be able to share some good practices with the folks that come and listen to us talk.
You know, we worked with National Ignition Facility at Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory, and they have the world's largest laser. They're trying to create fusion there. And when they first started, it's the world's largest laser. They could do 1 shot a month maybe. And then they had to, maintenance downtime and all that. And now they do 500, 600 shots a year, and they attribute a lot of that to their maintenance and reliability practices. So they say more reliability equals more shots. Could we say the same thing? More reliability in your business equals more mission?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep.
Yes.
100%.
Yep.
100%.
Yep.
That's great. That's great. So but you're still sort of, and everybody, I think one thing everybody shares, private and public, is nobody ever has enough resources.
Which makes it more vital to hire the right people that bring those knowledge and practices, proven practices that are successful, to the organization, the agency, so it's propagated out. And it's these kind of conferences where you learn from others and to go back and practice to where you gain those successes in reliability.
How much of it is the technical approach, learning the technical approaches, and how much it is a change in thinking? Is a change in thinking part of it?
It's both.
Absolutely, especially when you're looking at condition-based maintenance and CBM and all the MCE and all the good things we're trying to do. It's always great to try to be on the leading edge, but at the same point, balance the resources to make sure you're being reliable. And it's really cool to see that. I'm excited tonight for the expo to see those technologies, because that's how we're going to get better, is to have that critical conversation, build those partnerships and work forward. We implemented Spot Robot as well at NASA, and it's been a success. So it's very cool to see that kind of stuff.
And at multiple centers, because of that venue downstairs tonight that we're all going to be partaking in, we've brought those technologies back, those instrumentations, those sensors, and we've upgraded them. The motion cameras, we've used them at Langley, Stennis, multiple sites. And so the value coming out of this is remarkable, especially when we take it back and use it.
Do the astronauts know what you're doing?
Probably, to some extent. We've met with some of the astronauts when we tour, and they show us around, and we talk about some of their challenges. And mission is always the most important thing. Our astronauts are our most important asset within the agency, and making sure that the food facility is up and running, or the pool at JSC where they train the astronauts, the launch pads, the vertical assembly building at Kennedy. I mean, we need to make sure those facilities are ready so that there isn't a failure that might impact their mission or impact their safety. And so they understand that the facilities folks at those centers are critical to their success too.
Terrific. There were other public agencies that were struggling with a lot of your same struggles, but they hadn't gone down the path that you have with the people and the thinking and some of the technologies. What would you advise another public agency that feels like they're really underfunded, that the weight of the world is on their shoulders, that they're just limited in what they think they can do? Can they do something?
Absolutely,
yeah.
We brought at Langley Research Center, we brought in the Navy, and we talked to them about the program that was going on at that time from an asset management perspective, shared every nuance of it, and then really emphasized the training and the education and the certifications. And they bought into it and took it back and required a lot of their branch managers to become CRL certified, CMRP certified, but also start embracing the principles of RCM within their programs. And so the answer is yes.
I agree. I think that it's you just don't eat the whole elephant at one time, right? So you got to sit back, understand your program. Start with what's the most important things, making sure you lean into reliability, and then come up with a methodology on how you can just not give up and go fully reactive. Really lean
Like a
into being
roadmap,
predictive and proactive as you can, and just be comfortable with small gains, small wins. They will compound on each other, until you have a program that you're proud of, that is achieving its goals, even in a tight budget and constrained environment.
Well, the thing I really admire is that you know you're constrained. I mean, you know the amount of constraint that you have, and but you have that existing in one box, while in your other box you mentioned we found a strategy that we live within our means, even though. So the two things can exist at the same time. We're underfunded, and we can do the best we can with what we've got. And I think those two things, sometimes people give up a little bit because, well, if they're not going to give us everything, what can they expect from us? You're still holding yourself to high expectations, even though you have the facts of the matter that, in a perfect world, you'd be funded to do all the requirements that you need to do. So it's a very interesting dual sort of paradigm.
It exactly is. We have to be successful in the mission, and so you have to learn to live within the means and make those risk-determined decisions, risk-based decisions. On the flip side, understanding what you need to be successful in an ideal state is important when you talk to your stakeholders, so that they understand. They don't expect one thing. You need to frame the environment. Where are we? How far below ideal are we? What is the impact of that? And how are we staving off that impact?
And like what Simon Sinek always says in his famous TED Talk is make sure you're communicating the why.
Yeah.
So everyone understands the why. And you define your why, define your strategy, get your wins, and you're going to be set up for success.
One of the things that surprised me about your program is that you do have a lot of online. You have a lot of IoT. You're adopting a lot of new technology and everything. I would have thought that would almost be with the kind of the security settings in a government facility like you all do such important work, and with national security implications. How do you do those two things? Have IoT and have cybersecurity.
So that is critical. We partner with our CIO, our information office, information technology office, and just work very closely with them to ensure that where we need to, be careful with IoT, we're doing that. Where we can leverage enterprise solutions, we do that. We have to put up security plans and all that just to make sure we can use those systems.
And try to keep our systems air-gapped if possible.
Yeah.
Those are the kind of considerations that we look at all the time, and limit our risk. Like everything we do is risk-based. So looking at the risk and look at the consequence from the risk.
I wish we had a channel on like ABC or NBC or something, because the country the citizens of the United States should certainly know what you're doing, and even some of these water companies, what they're doing, because everybody's under-resourced and they're doing really great work like you are. Of course, we're reaching the maintenance audience, but we would like to, have a spotlight on the work you all are doing for all the citizens of the United States, because you are great custodians of assets. You're a great mission. I never hear anyone in the United States say, wow, we don't want to support NASA. You're doing a great job, and I just am so proud that you're here, and you think there's something here for you all, and we're going to keep working to make sure we got what you need to keep doing what you need to do.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very
I
much.
appreciate the opportunity.
We really appreciate you putting on this conference and
Yep.
giving us an opportunity to learn from our peers.
Yep.
Fantastic.
100%.
It's a good circular
Absolutely.
community, because you're learning, but you're also teaching, and you're bringing your and people will pay attention because it's you. So you do have a bit of weight of the community on your shoulders. So, but you're doing a really great job, and we hope you come back year after year.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Absolutely.
it.
Thanks for having
Thank
us.
you for the conversation. Great to have you as guests in the stand. I hope I'll get you back again.
Sure.
We'd love to.
Perfect.
We'd
Thank
love
you.
to, yep.
Thank you.